Hello and welcome. In this video for the Using Old Source Code series, we're going to veer off topic a little tiny bit, and we're going to talk about three things. Something I missed when I showed you the CodeBlocks instructions for using OpenGL. We're going to go over that again and make it clear that you're going to need that from here on out when you're doing any of these videos. And we're going to talk about Hungarian notation. And it has nothing to do with the Hungarian language as far as I know, so don't ask me. And something in a kind of related way, how do you get current hardware like source code stuff, even if it's written for DirectX 9, how do you get to work on a machine with integrated video like a laptop from 2004 or 6? And I'm going to show you how to do that with the Chilli framework, and I'm going to introduce you to the Chilli channel of DirectX video tutorials. I think those are a very good resource, and with this information you should be able to follow along without issue, as long as you do what he says and follow his instructions. And I think I want to go over all of that process. So we'll start with the missing information from the CodeBlocks OpenGL tutorial. I got a page open here. This is SourceForge.net projects MinGW. In here there's an installer directory. Now I showed you this, I think, in the DirectX version of these videos before. It still applies here. So you want the MinGW git install, and I think the one that I got was here. I'll verify that. And I'll explain what's going on here in a minute. Because they're going to be veering back into... Well, that isn't right. Well, I'm completely flabbergasted. I thought I downloaded this and installed this. I'll have to watch my own video and figure out what the heck's going on around here. Maybe I stuck it over here. Git inst 2012-426. Make sure we got the right one. 2012-426. Of course, if there's a newer one by the time you get this video, then go for that. Ignore this error. I haven't updated my Flash since I updated Firefox. So you want to download that. When you install that, here's the trick. This is presuming you've already downloaded and installed the CodeBlocks MinGW edition. Now you might be able to link it together with the CodeBlocks normal edition that doesn't come with MinGW. MinGW is the compiler that you'll be using. And I don't have any clue how to set that up. So I'm going to presume that you're installing the CodeBlocks with MinGW. And now it could be a MinGW directory right in your CodeBlocks directory. So all you do when you install is you install it into this area right here. So you install this with everything in it into here, into your CodeBlocks MinGW. And that's a really nifty, slick way to update everything so that you have all the Windows files and everything else that you need to compile this older source code. And I'm assuming it's going to apply for OpenGL and DirectX. You need to do it for everything. And I'm going to assume from now on in this video series that you have this installed in here just like I instructed. Even if I'm completely and totally off my ball here, I think that this is not a bad idea. And I have these directories, the lib and the include directories, declared within the compiler, which I will show you just for the sake of showing you, I guess. We'll use CodeBlocks. I'm not going to run through the install procedure. Just remember to install it into that area. So when it's giving you the MinGW folder, instead of the MinGW folder somewhere else, just put it into that and use that MinGW folder. Make sure you install it directly into there. Don't do MinGW and then another MinGW. All the files have to be in the right off into the MinGW folder. Hopefully you know what that means. Like I say, I expect you to be an intermediate to advanced computer user. Otherwise, you don't really have any business programming, to be honest. But if you get stuck, you can always ask a question. I'm going to be friendly and answer and help you out. We all have days where we get stuck. I can do everything, I can try to do everything possible to make sure that people that can handle these lessons are the ones that are going to be following along, but ultimately I have to be, ready in case there's problems and help people out, so not a problem. Just tell you what my expectations are and we'll go from there. This will take a second. The instructions here are going to be not quite the same, but fairly similar for Visual Studio. I'm not going to try loading Visual Studio because it wouldn't load. It'd just take 10 million years and we wouldn't get anywhere. So, once this finally gives me all my icons, we can get in here and do this. As you can see, this is taking long enough, and I don't want to... Oh, don't give me that. I will spank you. You can believe that, you silly thing. Give me my file. Okay, so. Oh, I've got internet issues now. Will you stop? Go away. Don't do that. I have you over far enough. Okay, so over here under Settings Compiler. And this you'll set by right-clicking in Visual Studio on the name of your project, and you'll go to your compiler and linker settings. Here it's just Settings Compiler. Okay, so then this box will pop up, and here you just have the tabs. And under linker, you're going to want to make sure that those OpenGL, as I showed you in the CodeBlocks video, are added here. We've got the MinGW library stuff. All that's added here. And in search directory, you see here I have a CodeBlocks MinGW include. And that's why I have all this stuff here, MinGW lib, all this stuff. This is for those Windows files that don't normally come with MinGW, or something weird's going on there because I couldn't get it to work until I did this. So you got MinGW include, MinGW library, MinGW include. And that's after I've installed CodeBlocks and then installed MinGW into the CodeBlocks MinGW folder. Then I add the paths here. And you'll do the same thing in Visual Studio. You may not need to add all of this stuff here. You may not need that because in Visual Studio you already have support obviously for Windows programming. This is a CodeBlocks is a cross-platform kind of thing, so you may not need to worry about that. But you might want to do the search directories. I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. I don't even think that I have those set up there, but if you have any problems running some of this code over in Visual Studio, that's how you would do it. And it's link and linker and search and all that type stuff directories, as I showed before. I think this is more important just for CodeBlocks. I don't think I'll have to even worry about it in Visual Studio. Alright, so I'm canceling this out. I think I'm closing this. I am going to have to open Visual Studio. It's going to be a slug. Okay, so here's channel Chilli. You see it's YouTube here, Chilli Tomato Noodle. And you're going to want to click that subscribe button. And no, he's not paying me any money for promoting him. I wish he would, but what are you going to do? Anyway, his videos are here. And you want to start way down at the bottom of his first beginner one. And he'll take you through the direct 3D stuff. And I think he's going to be a fun teacher because he kind of believes, like I do, that it doesn't have to be this, nobody can do it, huge, horrible nightmare, a lot of work that everybody says it is. I mean, you look at YouTube all the time, you see people who put out their own game engines that have done it themselves. So somebody's not telling the truth about how, telling you the truth when they say it requires a huge team of people and a lot of time and all this other garbage. It's obvious that people are accomplishing this in just small groups, even by themselves. And I think this is going to be the right teacher for more up-to-date DirectX kind of stuff. His tutorials are about a year old. Okay, so we can turn this off. So the next thing that we need to talk about is just a real quick discussion on Hungarian notation. Reverting back to Andre Lamoth's book, Tricks of the Windows Game Programming Gurus and Tricks of the 3D Game Programming Gurus. He's going to teach you, at least in the Windows Game Programming Gurus, Hungarian notation. He's going to use it in there. He has a chart. He's going to teach you how to read it, and he uses it in his programs. Now, I don't know when or if I will be out teaching any kind of coding, but I'm not going to use Hungarian notation because, with all due respect to whoever came up with it, it's a pile of crap in my opinion. And the reason why I think it's a pile of crap isn't because of the same reason everybody else, more than likely. It's just simply, if I have to look at a chart to figure out what something is and try and translate it as if I'm looking at another language, well, fuck that. Pardon my language. I'm kind of sick right now, so I'm going to let a swear word slip just to let that out, man. It's just not cool. I ain't going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do stuff that's going to annoy people, but this is what I'm going to do. Instead of something like, let's see, in Hungarian notation, you'd have something like, a long pointer, zero terminated string, and then you'd give it a name, or actually be something like this. Instead of that, I'm just going to say string name. I don't think I need to be any more specific than that. If I need to add an adjective, I'll say string long pointer name. Or if I have to be really specific, I might say string long, nope, no, I want to have the first one. I do agree with the camel case and the uppercase and all the other normal C++ standard coding conventions. I think the naming conventions of your variables and stuff. That's what I'll do. And yeah, that's a lot of typing, and maybe it's kind of silly. I probably wouldn't go quite that far. And I don't know why I would need to know that it's a long pointer terminated string in the first place. All I need to know is that it's a string name. So I could see why they would want to use, Hungarian notation, and I can't guarantee that that's correct or accurate. I don't have my chart with me. I could see why they'd want to use it, but I don't know why I need all that information. Of course, I haven't programmed the game engine yet, so I don't know exactly how that works. But I will say one thing for Hungarian notation, and I think this is important to think about. About 10 years ago, everybody was using it. Probably 90% of the community was using it. 10, 15, maybe even, 20 years ago. It was the rage. Everybody supported it. And that's going to stick around even now, today, 10 years later, and you're going to run across programs, either old programs that you're updating or refactoring is what they call it, or you're going to run across old books that you're trying to run, and they're going to be using that. Oh, come on now, don't do that. They're going to be using that Hungarian notation, and it's going to do you good to know exactly what you're looking at and how to read it. So I think you need to learn Hungarian notation so that you know how to read it, and you should have charts bookmarked from MSDN or somewhere, so that you know exactly what you're looking at. So when you encounter it, you know what's going on. You don't get confused because the program just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense with the way it says everything. I think that's important, but I don't think using it is a good idea. I think it's better to be descriptive only if you need to be. You can always add a comment. I mean, that's another way that you could do this. You could say string name. Actually, it wouldn't be an equal. Sorry about that. We wouldn't give it an equal for a string, I don't think. In C++, it would just be string and then name. We're not setting it to a value. Excuse my improper coding. But you could do that, and you could say this is null terminated. I can't spell. You could do that. You know, if you needed that kind of information, you could add that to the line with a comment. And that's another way to do it. But I don't really think there's a I don't really think there's a reason to do this whole string LPZ or however it's said, name or whatever it is. I think that's just ridiculous, and I wouldn't recommend using it. But I do recommend learning it. And so going through Angela Moss' book will give you a good idea how to read and understand that language. It'll help you out if you're going through refactoring old code. If you get your hands on like the old Quake source code, I don't know, but I would guess that maybe that would be done with Hungarian notation. I could be wrong. You know, if you got the original source code, it probably would have that. You know, any kind of old source code you have the chance of running across that notation. So learn it, do yourself a favor, but don't use it. I mean, just be very specific in your names. Don't sit here and do stuff like this. String in char z, and then, I don't know, int x equals 0. How the hell are you supposed to know what the heck these things are? And if you got a whole bunch of them in a program, how are you going to do anything or know anything? So use a descriptive name, you know. If it's a first name, specifically say first name. If it's a last name, specifically say last name. If you really feel like typing 3 extra letters is going to break your fingers, then type F name. Most people can figure that out. Or do an F underscore name, but I would hesitate on the underscores. You know, just, be careful about it. Char, maybe do choice or something. I don't know. But be specific in your variable names and don't use general stuff. Leave comments where necessary so other people looking at your code can understand it. There's no awards being given out for somebody with the most cryptic code, and if there is, I don't know, if it's even worth having and putting on your wall, so don't do it. Just be smart, learn Hungarian notation, but be smart in your code, write it clean, be descriptive, put comments where needed. There's no need to have a table to look at to figure out. You shouldn't have something at the bottom of your code like this. Legend. X equals loop. I can't spell. Loop. Variable. N equals name. Whatever, And we'll do this in proper. What is the proper? Is it? Yeah, it's this way. Sorry. Can't type. My eyes are bugging me right now. Don't do that. Somebody shouldn't have to go to the bottom of your code and look through a legend and try to figure out what everything is. That's kind of ridiculous, Just save yourself the time, save everybody else time and stress, and just use descriptive names. Don't do stuff like that. And don't use Hungarian notation. I think that maybe there was an idea there that might have had some value, but I don't think it was really that good of an idea. You shouldn't have to refer to a chart just to figure out what some code is. Oh, don't you dare. Don't make me do that. You shouldn't have to refer to a chart just to figure out what's going on. Coding is cryptic enough. Everybody says it's easy. Coding isn't hard to do, programming isn't hard to do, but understanding all the stuff is cryptic enough already, that is. And then you got concepts you're going to have to handle, like polymorphism, inheritance, and all this other stuff you get in the object-oriented, which you're going to have to do if you get into games. I mean, yeah, you could do a procedural game, but I don't think I'd recommend it. So it's already hard enough trying to figure out everything and learn everything and understand the language and read it. There's no need to make it worse. So that's my little spiel there on Hungarian notation. I can understand why some people don't like Lamoth's code because he does use Hungarian notation, and I get that, but I think it is important that you learn it. I mean, because you're going to encounter it at some point in your coding career as a programmer, and being able to know it will give you a one-up. I mean, imagine if you go to a job and all the programmers there are young bucks that don't know anything at all about Hungarian notation, and they're all into the new programming style and stuff, and then they run across something archaic with Hungarian notation, and you're the one person in the entire building that knows exactly what it is and how to read it. Well, that's going to make you a pretty invaluable member of that team, don't you think? So be smart. Alright, so what was the last thing we was going to do? I've forgotten. Oh yeah, we're going to get the Chilli framework working. I'm going to show you what happened to me, why it didn't work. I'll be here in just a minute. Okay, there's a weird error that happens, at least to me and maybe a few other people, because I found them trying to find information on this, but the error is like 00x00 or something. There's no real information to it. You can't figure out what's going on. But basically, with the Chilli framework, it won't up and run. Now, I've run across hardware restrictions, as I think I mentioned when I started this whole using old source code series about the whole XNA pixel shader. Now, I don't know what all the restrictions are with DirectX and how to call it and stuff, but the newer stuff isn't going to work on older computers more than likely. And you're going to have problems and things aren't going to work. And I knew right off the bat when I saw what was going on, I didn't see an error with the compiling, that yeah, I have a hardware issue. So I'm going to show you what I did to fix it, but first we're going to show you how to set everything up on the Chilli thing. So the first thing you need, of course, is the framework, and the link, I believe, it's either here or it's in the forums. Give me a minute. Okay, this might be the right one. But you got to be careful. Okay, so this is the one you need, but you only need this to there should be a forum post around here, yeah. And if you go click on the MK2 link, give me a minute, I gotta find my way around here. My eyes are really bugging me. I've got this stupid cold and it's just not cool. He says right here, don't use it till lesson 16. So make sure you have the beginning one, which I believe is the one right off the main page here. And you use this for the beginners DirectX video tutorials up to lesson 16. You extract this, and he gives you the instructions on exactly what to do here. You double click on this, and it takes a while to load, then you build it. That takes a little longer, and then you press the run button. You want to save it at some point during that, probably before you run it, and see if it runs. And if it runs correctly, you'll get a black box, and I'll show you what that looks like because I have it running now on mine, and I can't take credit for figuring that out. I will tell you who helped me and give credit to them. And this is what you should see. Okay, now I'm going to show you what's going on here. And try to explain this as best I can. Come on, I can't think. I must not be clicking on something correctly. Well, let's go. Hello. I need to get to my post. Okay, well, if it's not going to work that way, I've got another way to get at it. I can't wait around for it to figure out what it wants to do. It looks like my internet finally went pot on me. Excuse me a second. I really hate this laptop. If it was mine, I think what I'm going to do when I'm finally... If I pause this and I'm smart, should be able to get it right back. Anyway, when I finally have a new computer, I think I'd take it out to the woodshed and take a hatchet or an axe to it, and I'd give her some really good frustration. It's not even worth anything, not even worth being a paperweight. I got nothing but issues with the internet. Oh my goodness. Really? Oh, I see how we're going to pull. You're not going to let me have my videos, are you? I'll have to go through the huge process of trying to get them again later. I'll have to give up on this, I guess, unless this loads. It's something to do with the... In these old laptops, they have the wireless antennas going through the frame of the screen. And this card in this is a pile of garbage. The company that made it ought to be... The whole collective group of them should be drug out in the street and shot somewhere. They didn't know what they were doing and making hardware, and they had no business making it. They just made a piece of garbage that can't get any drivers for and doesn't work properly and just drops a connection all the time. It's not cool. Okay, this appears to have crashed, so I'm going to give up on this and come back to that later so I can do this page offline. I did save it. No, not in there. Oh, come on! I'm clicking in the right area. I know I am. Okay. I got some kind of weird sickness, and it was sore throat and coughing and then runny nose forever, and now it's eyes that are leaky and I can't hardly see through them, and I already have not very good vision to begin with, so... I mean, it's not bad vision, it's just I need glasses really to look at the computer screen clearly. Okay, so all that's going to have to just be lost. Okay, so the person to credit here is this Xavier. Is that a Buffy reference? Yes, I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't mind admitting it. He goes through, not there, this page right here. He says, okay, in this bold, replace it with these, and I'll show you what I did, but he gets the credit for this. So here's what I was seeing. I'm going to cancel this if I can. Here's what I was seeing before. This is the actual original code. And this might help Chilli debug. Where are you going? The issue. Because there should be a way to call Direct 3D hardware on even old integrated video cards like mine. There should be a compatibility mode or an older mode, an older way of doing it, maybe even old DirectX or DirectX 7 or DirectX 8 call. There should be something out there, and it would be nice to have that information. I know there has to be something. There would be some kind of hardware that DirectX 7 and 8 used, and this laptop will work with those hardware calls. If I figure that out, then I'll make sure I post the video, because right now we're going to be in software mode, which is supposedly slower. Now what I did was I went to the build you probably saw, and I went to the rebuild. I just kind of go and do that if I mess with any code, and I just want to make sure it's completely rebuilt. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I rebuilt it. close some things down. I'm going to press the play button here, the start debugging actually. I always think it was the play button. And you'll see, now this isn't what I got before, or I don't recognize as looking like this. But you try to look this up and there's no real information on it anywhere. And then this is hung up down here on the bottom. And it stops right around in there. Yeah, see, there's the arrow right there. So having a problem here with this loop for some reason. But I think it's just the error is occurring during this loop and the error is actually over here. But if I take and I use, now mixed doesn't work either, it does the same thing. Mixed is supposed to allow you to have hardware and software. It doesn't work on this computer. So I take this line down here. Now this line is in D3D graphics.cpp and it's under source files. And it's about halfway down the page. No. It's near the top actually if you go past all those comments there. So I don't want to delete that. I want to paste it here. What I'm doing here is I'm making sure that this code, the original code, is somewhere nearby so I know what was there. So I put this in there. And I might need to stop again because it just was acting sluggish. So I've rebuilt it now and I'm saving it. And then I'm going to go here. And now we have the black screen. But if you know how to make the hardware call here for DirectX 7 or 8, let me know. I'm going to do a little research on it. Once I figure that out, maybe there's a way to put the right kind of hardware call here for hardware that I have. I think that's what the problem is. There might be a DirectX 9 hardware call that'll work for older hardware, but I don't know what that would be. But go ahead and leave a comment. But that's the problem. If you have the same error that I have or something similar, give that a try. And credit goes to that guy that I sent in the forums. So I'm going to close this out. I think that's everything for now. I'll see you in the next video.